Всем привет! Спасибо, что вы с нами. И снова мы выходим в эфир с последним на сегодня интервью. И в гостях у меня Belgorodseva, и я ее вам сейчас представлю. CELTA-тренер с 15-летним стажем, которая за свою карьеру провела 75 курсов CELTA. Impressive. Еще меня очень впечатлил тот факт ее биографии, что в 98 году она приехала в Москву и начала свою карьеру в BKC-IH, потом она уехала в Великобританию, и через 10 лет, на 10 лет она уехала, а потом она снова вернулась в Москву, где сейчас она ведет CELTA-курсы и другие курсы IH. На конференции она рассказывала о том, как развивать навык говорения, а не просто говорить на уроке. Okay, I'm going to switch to English, and this is my first question is about your session. So, what is your favorite speaking activity, and what do you particularly like about it?
Well, I don't usually have a favorite activity, but what I like about speaking activities is when they're reasonably realistic and the students can see why we're doing it. I also think it's good if they have something to talk about. So giving them some time to prepare is fine, but also coming out of a text, a speaking text or a reading text, a listening text or a reading text is very helpful. I think students should know what their role is, so they should know if they are students and playing themselves, or whether they are higher ranking than the other person or not, that kind of thing. And I think there should be a goal as well. They should be trying to achieve something. I mean, chat is good too. They do need to chat, but sometimes I think that's you want a bit more structure to it. But my favourite task actually is one that I learnt on my CELTA course, and I do drag it out every now and again, and it's the balloon debate.
Never heard about it.
Okay, right, okay, so I'll describe it. So you've got a hot air balloon, which is in the air, and in the hot air balloon are 4 characters. And it could be famous historical personages, or it could be people from the student's favourite soap opera, or whatever. It could be abstract concepts as well, like grammar, vocabulary, homework, speaking, whatever. And unfortunately, the hot air balloon has a hole in it, and so they are going to plummet to the ground, or the shark-infested waters, if you want to make it a bit more exciting. And the only way they can stop this from happening is to throw out one person or abstract concept from this balloon. And so obviously what they have to do is debate who should get thrown out, and each student takes a role, or I suppose they don't have to pretend to be that person, but they definitely have to advocate for one person, and that's how it goes.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's not very realistic, but it is quite fun. So yeah, that's what I like.
Yeah, thank you. Many people at and above the intermediate plateau struggle with using the vocabulary they learned actively in their speech. How can a teacher help such students to activate the receptive or passive vocabulary?
Yeah. It depends really, but I'm again, although fluency is very important, I do think actually you can give students little tasks. Like if you want them to practice a particular set of vocabulary, you can give them on cards, and then as they're talking about whatever topic you want them to talk about, they have to use these words, and it's like a competition. So every time they use a word, they get to throw it down, and by the end of the discussion or the task or whatever it is, it's the student with the biggest pile of cards that's won. So obviously it's going to be a bit unnatural because they're trying to work the conversation around to popping these words in, but that's how you want them to do it. You want them to consciously think about how to actually add these things in. Slightly less with the cards, you can just give them something to tick, or again they can monitor each other, so they can somebody else can do the ticking to see how many words this person's used compared to how many words that person's used, or whatever.
So to compose a list of words, and the listening partner does the ticking,
or the person actually speaking has the pile of cards that they're trying to include into their speech, and does it. So it could either be a peer monitoring task or a self-monitoring task, really. Yes. And the words could be something the teachers thought of at the beginning of their lesson. It could be the words they're trying to learn in that lesson, or it could be I like word bags too, so having a bag of words in the classroom where you pop in all the words you've learned that day, so you end up with this huge bank of words, and so just dragging a pile out of them and say, there, use all these words to keep recycling this language that, as you say, sometimes they do kind of know, but they're just not really using.
Wow, okay. Sounds like a challenge.
Yes, I like a challenge.
And the last question, what teacher training courses do you teach at BKCIH, and who do you think they might be most useful to?
Oh gosh, well actually I teach most of the ones here actually. So I teach CELTA, obviously. Do I need to talk about CELTA? So CELTA's the so CELTA is the sort of I hesitate to call it entry level, but it's sort of the one that people do kind of to make sure actually that their basics, all the basic techniques, all the basic structures for lessons, all the refinements to those basics are very solidly in place. So it's a course where you learn about all of these things and then immediately put it into practice, in teaching practice. So that's good. If you've had more of a theoretical training, or you haven't perhaps taught for a while and you want to brush up on all of these techniques, or if you don't know much about the communicative language teaching, which is what this is all based on. So as well as this, we do TKT. I actually don't teach that so much, but in comparison to that, that's a bit more theoretical, is basically the point. You don't get to put it into practice. But the same course that we run, that is kind of my baby, if you like, because I kind of wrote it, although I didn't design it. Somebody else designed it and I finished it off for them. And I teach it, is a language and methodology. So in this course, people come and they're my students, they're teachers and they're my students, usually advanced. And we have lessons, but each lesson that I deliver and that they participate in is designed to demonstrate something about how to teach grammar, or task-based learning, or how to teach writing, that kind of thing. And so when we finished having a lesson, we then talk about it. So these three courses kind of work together, and it just depends on what kind of certificate you want, how intense you want it to be, because the CELTA is an extremely intense course, and a big commitment of time and money, basically, whereas the other courses are a little bit less frightening, and you can dip your toe in and basically see whether it's the kind of thing, or if you don't really need the certificate at the end, they're good for that. Beyond that though, I teach on the Certificate of Advanced Methodology, the International House 1, that's now certified by Cambridge as well, so that's also that. So that's a kind of that's a kind of bridging course between CELTA and Delta. It's advanced methodology, so it's based on taking the theory and doing a lot of reading, and then we come together and we talk about all of this theoretical reading at quite a high level.
Writing assignments every unit.
Every unit. So, and then basically how it's assessed is that actually what happens is before that you get to take something usually and then try and put it into practice in the classroom. But unlike CELTA and unlike Delta, it's not observed. So you get to experiment without observation, which I'll be honest is the best bit, I think, because that's the point really, is that when you're trying out new things, it doesn't always go well. It doesn't. So this course is where you get to experiment with these ideas, and then of course you do write about them, and what's assessed is the write-up of those lessons that you've taught, and sometimes research as well. But the nice thing about it is when you write about it, it doesn't have to go well. You can say, well, actually I tried this out and what I discovered was,
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work like that. Or, okay, I need to make this and this changes. And it is a great opportunity for experienced teachers to really push themselves, but not feel the pressure to be perfect yet. that's what you do on the Delta.
That's what's coming.
That's what's coming, yes. So on the I don't teach for Delta Module 2 actually, which is where you teach that, but I do prepare students for Delta Module 1, which is to prepare students for the exam, and Delta Module 3, which is the one where we take people through the process of planning a course. So if you're if you have to, or you think you might want to, or you are in the process of planning a course, even if you weren't going to do Delta Module 3, it's actually quite a good course for that, basically, because we look at what you have to do first, and then what you have to do next, and then the principles of course design, and so it's fun.
Great,
yeah.
Such a variety.
Yeah, quite a lot of different courses, because that's what we do. So yeah, but,
yeah. So thank you very, very much.